Hello! If you have been following me on this channel for any length of time, you will know that my two favorite genres are fantasy and romance. Love a good fantasy novel with politics and high stakes, and I love a contemporary romance story. So realistically, I should like fantasy romance. It's just the two of them together. But in the past, that has not been the case. I have tried so many times. There is one era of fantasy romance that I do like, and that is retellings. If you've been around, you know that as well. Love a retelling story. I love the feel of a retelling and the nostalgia feel of a retelling, but for some reason, outside of that, fantasy romance has not always worked for me. I don't really dislike it. It usually just comes around a middle of the road story. And everyone lately has been giving me recommendations for fantasy romance that they think I will like. Something that maybe has a strong political system or something else going on in it that will bring my interest up. So I have still been hauling fantasy romance books. I have a few on my shelves here waiting to be read. So when Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy decided to put out a Every Romantasy challenge, it's a year-long challenge to read 8 books that are fantasy romance based, I decided that this would be a great way to try and read some of the books that everybody is recommending to me, but also fill these tropes, see what tropes work for me, and maybe I will discover what works for me in fantasy romance. So in this challenge, there are 8 tropes that you have to fill, and then there's some sub-tropes and all sorts of stuff like that, but I didn't really know how to fill those tropes. So I reached out to a friend because my friend Rainey is in her fantasy romance era. Rainey loves fantasy romance and reads it a lot and would definitely know what books had what tropes. Because I don't read a lot of fanro and I don't necessarily know what is in what book, I was really struggling to fill this challenge. So I messaged Rainey and said, hey, can you make my Every Romantasy challenge a TBR? And Rainey agreed and just sent me along the video of the books that she chose. So in this video, I'm just reacting to the TBR Rainey has made for me. We'll see which books I've heard of. We'll see which ones maybe I even own. I don't know. Rainey kind of knows my TBR, so there might be some. Which ones I'm more excited about than others, and we're just going to react in this video. And then over the next, 6 to 8 months, because I only have until the end of April before the challenge is over, I will read these 8 books. And we'll see which parts of these books I like so that I know where to kind of focus my sights in fantasy romance. Anyway, let's jump into Rainey's video.
Hello, Brittany. Would I be coming to you in any other way? No. This video is for you, for the Every Romantasy challenge, because I believe that you can love romantasy, and I have 8 chances to get it right. 8 whole chances. And it's going to be interesting, some of the choices that I have selected. Now, I hemmed and hawed. I went back and forth. There's ones that I'm like, it could have been this one or this one. So you know what? I'm going to give you a fail-safe for a couple. Some of them, I feel like I marked it down. And so, there's a couple that I'll be like, if you're between, pick one of the 2. Because at the end of the day, I want you to love the book, okay?
I didn't know that I was going to have choices. Well, that's interesting. Thank you, Rainey. So I may also be picking some choices during this video as well. While I'm reacting, I will decide between the 2 books that Rainey gives me for each prompt.
We're going to start with Reluctant Allies, which is very near and dear to my heart because it's one step above Enemies to Lovers, okay? And we can't get rid of Carissa Broadbent forever, okay? I know, Serpent, you did me dirty with that, but the book that is probably better served for you is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I did absolutely eat this book up. It is fabulous. I love everything that she writes.
Okay, Daughter of No Worlds. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Daughter of No Worlds because I have been told by most people, even though I did not love Serpents, that I would probably enjoy Daughter of No Worlds better because it's a little bit more political than Serpents. And the problems that I had with Serpents apparently are less obvious in this book. So I'm okay to read Daughter of No Worlds. I'm really okay. We're starting off well because this is a book that I have been planning to pick up at some point. I do not own it, so I'll have to get it through Kindle Unlimited, but I know that that is one of the sub-challenges as a part of this challenge is to read a book on KU, so check.
The next one is Fated Mates. And I have not read that many Fated Mates books. And the ones that I have, I don't think are for you. And so I'm going to put one that Rainey also wants to read. But for some reason, I think it'll work for you. And here's why. Because I read the 2 novellas that went before this, and they were very good. They had good politics in it, but they were also just well written, and they were a fun time, which is why I think that this book will work for you. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And that is The Crown of Oaths and Curses by J. Bree, okay? This could have been Enemies to Lovers as well.
Okay, I've heard of J. Bree. Have I had any necessary interest in picking up the books? No, but I've heard good things, so I'm intrigued to try. I'm okay to try. But Rainey, you need to tell me, or people in the comments can also tell me, should I start with the novellas? I don't think so. I think I should start just with the first book, the one that Rainey wants me to read. But also, Rainey, buddy read? Should we buddy read this together? Since I have not really looked into J. Bree much, I obviously don't have a copy of this book, but I'm sure I can get a hold of one from my library. Potentially, KU would have to look, or just, purchase one, which is fine.
Now, I will say, you should technically read the novellas first, The Sword and the Scepter. The Scepter is fabulous. It follows the witch, and then the sword follows the witch hunter, and they're only like 100-ish pages. So maybe I would dip my toe in with the scepter first and see if you like J. Bree's writing in this, and then if you do, keep going. But yeah, this is my choice for that.
Okay, so that answered one of my questions. So Rainey, never mind. You told me the answer, and will do. I can do that. I can do that. That's fine. But still, if I do like the writing, buddy read the next book.
Then we got to 2+ love interests, and I'm not gonna lie, this one threw me for a loop because the one that I had on my list, I haven't read yet, and I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be up Brittany's alley, and so I didn't want to give that to you. And then there was one that I really wanted to give to you. However, the first book is not the one that buys everybody in, so that's gonna be my fail-safe for you if you end up not liking the choice that I gave you. But I feel pretty strong in the choice that I gave you because it is a retelling, and we all know that you are obsessed with retellings, and it's on your want to read list. So for 2+ love interests, I'm giving you Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm pretty sure it's a why choose 4 princes. Yeah, it says 4 princes, 1 awkward bookworm, an enchanted world of fae, magic, and danger. I've never read this.
I think you saw by my reaction that I'm very excited that this is on this TBR. I had this on a Timmy's TBR, but I cleared the board because I was so behind on reading books, so I didn't get to it. It was a roll-up rec recommended by Bree from 4 Paws in a Books. Now Rainey is telling me about it, although I know I'm going to love this. It's Beauty and the Beast. It's why choose Beauty and the Beast. This one, for sure, is happening. Plus, I own this book. 1 second. It's just over there. Let me grab it. This one obviously did not come into my possession because it's fantasy romance. It came in because it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but retellings are technically fantasy romance when they are fantasy retellings, so here we are. This one was actually also gifted to me, so I just want to say thank you. I think it was Kelsey. Yes, for my birthday. So thank you so much, Kelsey. Thank you so much, Rainey, for doing me a solid on this one. This one's a solid. I know that you said that there's a fail-safe for this choice and that there's another choice, but already in my mind, there's not. I'm reading this book. This one's happening. This is so happening.
Then your fail-safe is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, which I absolutely love. However, it's book 2 and 3 that really get everybody going. So that's why I didn't pick it for the first spot.
So Spark of the Everflame, as much as I've heard great things about this book, it hasn't necessarily piqued my interest, and realistically, nothing is going to take the spot of Bonded by Thorns. I've been wanting to read that. It's a retelling. We're not touching it. I'm going to go with that one. But that was also a good second pick. But I have to stick. No. Definitely going with Beauty and the Beast.
Arranged marriages are fabulous. And I'm so glad that I just read this book so I can recommend it to you because it is one of my favorite arranged marriage books. And that's House of Bane and Blood by Alexis Bernard. I love this book. You know Brie loves this book. Cassidy loves this book. Tori loves this book. Everybody and their mother loves this book. There is a main male character with a metal arm. Okay, he's got a metal arm. What does he do with this metal arm? You're going to have to find out yourself.
To be honest, I've been holding out hope that this was on the TBR. So many people that I know have been reading this book. Does that necessarily mean I will like it? No, it doesn't. But I am FOMOing big time about this book. However, a lot of people have recommended it to me because there are elements to this that they think I will enjoy. So I do think this is a pretty solid bet for me. And I needed to read this anyway because, again, the FOMO is FOMOing. And also this trope, I think, is one that is very potentially going to work for me. Arranged marriage, I have not read a lot of books about. And especially in fantasy, I have not really dived in there. But in contemporary romance, I do love a marriage of convenience. So I feel like these might work well together. And this is why I want to try these different tropes and why this challenge is perfect for me to pick it. Thank you again, Cassidy, for making it, because I will be able to kind of find what tropes in fantasy romance work for me. And I have a suspicion that this one will.
Next one was tricky, and it was Bodyguard romance. And I have not read that many Bodyguard romances. The only Bodyguard romance that I can remember I've read is Heir of Sun and Moon. And honestly, I'm not going to recommend that to you because I didn't think it was the best book ever. It was just all right. You can very much tell that it was a debut book. But there was one that came to mind. Now, it is cozier, and like we said, we don't know if you're a cozy girly yet. But you know what? The fantasy and the romance is there, so we're going to go with it. And that is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, which I feel like you read Thornhedge before and really enjoyed it, so maybe you'll like it. So all that I know...
So this is true. We do not know if I like cozy. And by the time this video goes out, my cozy vlog will not have come out yet. So we are going to keep that as a mystery. You will know soon how that cozy vlog went. However, T. Kingfisher, I have read T. Kingfisher before. I have read Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, and I did really like Thornhedge. I gave it 4 stars. It was a fairy tale retelling, so that is potentially why I liked it, but I am perfectly fine to read another T. Kingfisher book. Now, I will have to say that I have read T. Kingfisher's horror before and did not love that. I read the Twisted ones, and that was not for me. I gave it 2 stars, but I'm not a horror person. So that was really nothing to do with T. Kingfisher's writing and much more to do with a genre that just is not, it's not for me. So I think this is a really solid pick, Rainey. Really solid. I actually have never heard of this book by T. Kingfisher. I've heard of some, like Nettle and Bone is on my TBR. This one is not one that I hear talked about very much, and I actually didn't really know about. So I'm intrigued. I don't know if it's long or short because T. Kingfisher's book sizes can be very different. So I'll have to figure that out and get a copy from some location. But luckily, T. Kingfisher's books are very easy to get a hold of because the author is fairly popular.
The next one is Enemies to Lovers, and that needs to be an iconic book, right? It needs to be an iconic book. And we know that you love Faye. And we know that you love politics. And we also know that I'm obsessed with Quicksilver. Or actually, we don't know this at this moment because I'm filming this while I'm still reading it, but I'm literally at the 80% mark, and I haven't had the vlog come out yet that does this, but it's not like you're going to release this before that vlog comes out.
I was not expecting this to be on here. I really wasn't. This one is the first one that I'm like, okay, we'll give it a try. There's a couple reasons for that. It's very chunky, which I read a chunky book all the time. So that's not the only reason because I will read chunky books all the time. I mean, I'm reading Wheel of Time. Like, it's fine. I'll read a chunky book. This does not have an audiobook. And Rainey knows your girl is an audiobook girly. Now, I will read a physical book. I do read them occasionally, but do I read 700-page books without an audio? No. No, I do not. Now, I do believe that someone in Sprints the other day, because this book did come up in Sprints, said the audiobook was coming out in October. I am going to look into that because this one will be waiting, if that's the case, until at least October because I will enjoy the book more if I have an audiobook. I will probably immersion read most of these books. That is really how I read most books. So this one makes me a tad nervous, but if the audiobook is coming out in October, as I believe I heard on Sprints, it will be fine. This is the first one I'm a little bit nervous about, though. This was not on my radar. I've been hearing people talk about it. I've been hearing the FOMO for it, but it hasn't been FOMOing me. So I'm a little nervous. If you've read this and loved this, let me know in the comments so that maybe I can build the excitement for this one because it's the first one I'm a little nervous about.
Let's move on to Forbidden Love and get to a book that I think you're going to adore because, as Bree said, it's purple prosy. And that is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Yes, the special beautiful edition because I'm obsessed. I think you're going to love this. All you need to know is he's fire and brimstone. I'm shattered ice.
Okay, this one has redeemed Quicksilver in my mind because this one I was hesitant about. This one has a bit of a story. I was hesitant about When the Moon Hatched. I was hesitant to pick this up because, again, I wasn't sure. And it's very chunky. But the more I saw people reading it and the words they were saying to describe it got my attention. As Rainey said, political, purple prosy. I love a lyrical book. I love lyrical writing. Right up my street. So both of these reasons are the reasons that I own this book. It's right there. Let me grab it. I bought this not that long ago. Right before I went on vacation, I bought this. The bookstore was having a buy one, get one 50% off sale. And this one was also on sale. So I ended up grabbing When the Moon Hatched by Sarah Parker. So I do own this book. And I was actually very much hoping that this would be on this list. There's a couple books that I own that I was hoping would be on this list. Bonded by Thorns I wasn't expecting to see on this list, but obviously my reaction shows how excited I am about that. This one I'm actually not super surprised to see. I kind of put out feelers to Rainey that this could make it on there if it fit one of the tropes. That was the only reason I didn't know if it was going to be on here, because I didn't know if it fit any of the tropes that are on the Every Romantasy Challenge list, or if it would fit any of the remaining tropes that Rainey still needed to fill as Rainey started to fill the tropes. But this one is definitely happening. I own it already. It's chunky, but she's also extremely floppy, which is always a win. Thank you, Rainey.
And then my last book is Friends to Lovers. And I haven't read this one either. However, the main thing that I've heard about this book is that it is so politically heavy. And that a lot of people that go into it for the vampire-esque of it all end up getting turned off because of how politically heavy it is. And so I think this might be a hard hitter for you. And that is Blood Mercy by Viola Roth. Okay? So this one is Friends to Lovers.
Well, since this is Cassidy's challenge, I think it's only right that I have this book on this TBR because I know the author's name from watching Cassidy's channel. So I know this is either a series that Cassidy reads or at least an author that Cassidy reads. So you know what? Perfect. Let's end it out with a book that would be recommended by Cassidy for this list as well. I have not really looked into this series, so I really don't know that much about it, but I'll be reading one. But you're definitely right, Rainey. Anything that is start screaming politics usually is something that I like in regular fantasy. And I think that's something that I definitely want to be looking at when I'm looking into fantasy romance. I think the addition of a political system or something like that will bring the plot that I need to enjoy a fantasy romance book. So I think you're right on with your deductions about putting this on this list.
And so those are the 8 books that I have for you for the Every Romantasy Challenge. Obviously one of them is going to be a 5-star, but multiple. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. And that's it.
Rainey, I feel it too. I have every hope that I am going to figure out what I love in Romantasy through this challenge. Send those vibes, those feeling it vibes, send them my way. Everyone, let me know what you think of Rainey's picks in the comments. You all watch my videos. You know what I like in fantasy and also what I like in contemporary romance. Which ones of these do you think have the bits that I like from both that will make me like these books? Let me know where I should start. FYI, I'm not going to start with Quicksilver. That will not be where I'm starting. But if you really want to try and petition that, you can. But I'm going to wait for the audio, assuming I am right about what I said. But I am going to be trying to finish these all between now and the end of April, and I will be vlogging every single one. I will probably do 2 to 3 books per vlog, depending on the size of said books. But you will get to see those coming up. A huge, huge thank you to Rainey for making my TBR. Bestie, you're the best. You know I love you. Cassidy, again, big thank you for making this challenge and helping me kind of sort through fantasy romance by looking at tropes. I think that's a really great way to do it and exactly what I need to decide what I like. And thank you all for watching this video and hanging out with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.